good morning, everyone. Also, warm welcome from my side to our today's healthcare conference. I'm happy to host the next meeting today. This is aap Implantate, very interesting company. I've seen the presentation already, but I'm sure we will learn more about the company. And I'm happy to have Rubinho and Agnieszka, both management board of the company, with us. As usual, I have a small housekeeping notes here for you. I'm sure you're all aware of that. The presentation will last about 15 to 20 minutes. We will have time for about 10 minutes of Q&A. As usual, please use the chat box at the bottom right to send your questions. We will have enough time to answer all of them. The presentation is being recorded and will be available on our research hub later on. But given the shortage of time and without further ado, I would like to hand over the words to you, Rubinho. The floor is yours.
Good morning. So I would like for everyone in this round to picture an enjoying perfect summer day. Mountain biking through the trails when you suddenly hit loose gravel on a steep descent and you crash, resulting in a complex leg fracture. Or imagine a weekend with your friends on a motorcycle tour with a collision suddenly leaving you with multiple fractures. What you then need is surgical plates and screws. These are the moments that change everything. A family cycling vacation or a motorcycle weekend with your friends. But what most people don't realize is that the real danger often isn't the fracture itself, but what can happen after. Up to 30% of all trauma cases develop infections that can be more devastating than the fracture itself. And this challenge that is driving AAP. So my name is Agnieszka Mierzejewska. I'm the COO of AAP. I'm holding today's presentation. I'm here with my colleague Rubinho Di Girolamo, the CEO of the corporation. And today we'll show you how our small medtech Berlin-based company is tackling one of the biggest medical challenges with innovating solutions. So let's start to introduce to you who AAP is. AAP, as I mentioned, a small medtech company originated and located in Berlin, Germany, was founded 35 years ago. We're a publicly listed company on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, and we hold a very long-term, solid investor base that has supported us throughout the years, and most importantly, over the past 5 years with COVID and the transformation changes that AAP underwent. Our current free float is around a little less than 30%. We concentrate as a pure player in trauma on developing, manufacturing, and marketing implants and instruments specifically for trauma. We have around 80 employees with a 12.2 million revenue. We are proud to say that our products are not only made in Germany, but made in Berlin. And our strength now lies in the specialization. So we're focusing on trauma and orthopedics after AAP underwent several transformations to really find its specific medical field. That focus led us to develop two distinct platform technologies. So one technology is named LOQTEQ, our current portfolio that forms the base of our annual revenue and of our business. And the other platform technology still not CE approved, but under very far steps working, named as antibacterial silver technology. It addresses the critical unmet need in trauma. So let me show you how these two innovations work together. So our core technology, as mentioned, is LOQTEQ. The name combines locking, quality, and technology. It is an IP-protected technology with comprehensive patent protection with 4 patent families. These patents create a strong barrier around the design and the fixation technology. The technology itself, it solves a fundamental problem in internal fixation. So traditionally, surgeons have to choose between compression or angular stable locking. With LOQTEQ, it delivers both in one hole with 1 step and 1 screw. Combined with over 10 years of proven clinical track record, and currently covering a little more than 90% of all general major trauma indications. It has also shown superior biomechanical properties when compared to the market benchmark. So over the past years, we have strategically redesigned and refocused on identifying and addressing who is our best partner to market our products. So we have a strong presence in the markets, whilst the German market is our home market, where we directly serve clinics and hospitals. In all other countries, currently around 30, within the European Union, outside Europe and internationally, we work with a broad network of international distributors. In the US, we have our own US subsidiary that is marketing the products we design here in Berlin and produce in Berlin. So currently, the largest region is the EMEA region. It represents a little more than 50% of our sales total, of course, with a strong home market in Germany, but also with long-standing, long-term distributors, as for instance, within the European Union, Spain, Portugal, or outside of the European Union, South Africa being the two largest single distributor markets. Additionally, LATAM, Latin America, and Mexico have transformed in the past years to a good, solid, and sustainable growth region. We have steadily not only transferred markets to high-quality distributors, but also managed to close gaps on the regional markets. One of the markets that is still underrepresented when you look at AAP sales figures is the APAC area, Asia Pacific area. So whilst the compound growth rate of trauma worldwide is around 4 to 5%, the APAC region itself stands out with growth rates of 7 to 11%. That is mainly due to the mobility infrastructure that is very specific in the region. So anyone already traveling to Vietnam or Thailand might know all the tuk-tuks, all the interesting motorcycles, mainly self-made, and of course the unsecured roads, leaving it a region very attractive for trauma, but of course also very sensitive when it comes to price. So it's crucial to find and identify the right partner to place our quality system on the markets. In this region, we have managed to contract in Vietnam, South Korea, Taiwan, and Malaysia in the past years. And with the registrations that came out the last year, we are now in the phase of the market ramp up, since that region was until now only represented by Thailand and a little bit leftover Chinese market sales. On the contrary to all the other three regions that have very well performed also in 2024 with double-digit growth, the US market, so our US subsidiary, has a complete different transition that it is going through right now. The US market has hit in 2023 3.6 million euros, but a very unprofitable business. So we managed with a leadership change, the turnaround, and are now working on a less sales level, but with a higher profitability, and are working now on the key turnaround in order to drive sales on a much healthier basis. So overall, we have set, especially the past 5 years, the basis for operational leverage after going through comprehensive restructuring phases. So some of the main key drivers were, as I described, the operational leverage, improvement of gross margins, identifying the right partners, selling on the right markets, focus on growth, on further international expansion through registrations, and a strong emphasis on surgeon training, which is key in medical fields to create a sustainable growth. Additionally, we have transformed Berlin to a more efficient and competent organizational structure, and we are focusing on expanding not only our current revenue portfolio, LOQTEQ, constantly developing new plates and new systems in order to also keep track with the market developments and the surgical needs, but also our IP-protected platform technology, Silver. So the transformation that was initiated has now set grounds to start with a new platform technology. LOQTEQ technology has proven itself. It now needs to generate more sales and expand internationally after all the past transitions. So while LOQTEQ solves the mechanical problem for a surgeon, we now have to address another level of critical needs, unmet needs. And that is surgical site infections and implant infections with our silver technology. So surgical site infections and implant infections, they represent a billion-dollar burden to health systems worldwide. The sheer cost of antibiotic therapies, revision surgeries, and comorbidities caused by these stressful procedures creates not only enormous toll when it comes to euro amounts, but also to human toll numbers. So just in Europe, an estimated 3.2 million patients are diagnosed after surgery with healthcare-associated infections, leading up to 16 million additional hospital days and of approximately 7 billion additional costs. And as I mentioned in my introduction, around 30% of trauma cases develop infections. An implant is always an external metal that is brought into your body, always creating a risk, of course, for infections. So while systematic antibiotics remains essential and effective for many infections, they face limitations. They cannot prohibit biofilm formation, and they can also not treat the growing antibiotic resistance that we see amongst the population, and that also the World Health Organization 3 years ago called as a silent pandemic. So our technology is what we developed trying to meet these challenges. We bring silver into the surface, we form a coherent closing surface. So when the implant is implanted into the human body, the silver ions start to interact with the soft tissue around, making it very difficult for bacteria to colonize on the surface and create a biofilm. Biofilm is conglomeration of bacteria that can then form together and that can then also create the resistance to other antibiotics. Our technology has been created in-house. We have the competence in-house. We have the machine. We have created a very efficient and short-term technology, and we ensure with good biocompatibility results an excellent, safe treatment for patients. So, of course, the main question now is, where are we with silver? As I mentioned, the silver technology is not yet available on the market. We are currently in the final steps of the human clinical trial. So basically, if you look here, the human clinical trial study, we are here at the end of the implantation and aftercare cycle. So what the German Federal Institute for Drugs and Medical Devices, shortly in German called BfArM, required us to conduct is a so-called safety study to show that the technology is safe. The technology on one of our implants. Initially, it was requested to perform the study on roughly 300 patients. After having recruited and implanted into 200 patients and seeing no negative adverse events, we submitted the request to the BfArM to stop the patient recruitment at 200 patients. That request was confirmed, and now we are in the last phase, and as of today, 10 patients are needed to complete their 12-month follow-up cycle, with the last patient completing it at the beginning of August. After that phase, our CRO, the clinical research organization that is accompanying this clinical study, will evaluate all the data gathered and will also submit a final report. That report is for once, of course, also important, since all the 14 German clinics, amongst them also prestigious university clinics at the University of Freiburg, are interested, of course, to draw up a publication. But on the other side, the data is most importantly important for us because we need the data for our technical documentation for the submission under CE. And if some of you have heard, probably in the previous conference rounds or also from your knowledge on the market, the CE market has grown more complex when it comes to CE registration due to the MDR. So this, of course, this data is pivotal for completion also of the technical documentation and for hopefully also then fast CE approval. In parallel, we have also started to talk with the US FDA. We have initiated communication, reinitiated the communication with the US FDA, and are outlining with them also the path to move forward for a potential FDA registration. So now, why all the steps when it comes to registrations are mainly focusing on our product with silver, we have in parallel already analyze the potential that this technology as a classic platform technology can bring to the market. So this is when it gets really exciting. So now here you see different product groups that partially AAP has in its portfolio, but that mainly also big multinational companies or other companies focusing on other areas in the industry hold. So we have already in tests treated hip prosthesis, knee prosthesis, other extremity products as nails, or even cardiovascular products as the cage of a pacemaker. And they have been treated successfully with silver, making it also a technology that is not limited by geometry. So this has really the potential of a game changer. Now, the next slide, I just want, and I learned it from other presentations, I want to show you a real-world example, which was performed in a so-called compassionate use case, where our technology really helped a severe case. And since this is war-related injury, I am just sending out a trigger warning for those that maybe just had breakfast recently. So what you see is the typical war-injured leg. It's a shrapnel injury on a young Ukrainian soldier that happened in the first months of the Russian-Ukrainian war. And that Ukrainian soldier was brought to a German clinic in the north of Germany. In that clinic, which was typically done at that time and is currently still done, that soldiers are flown out to different clinics in Europe to be treated, they were confronted with a very deep infection and several antibiotic treatments that did not work. Since the surgeon heard about our then already started human clinical trial on silver, and the plate was one of the first plates used in the clinical study, he called AAP and he said that he agreed with the patient before taking drastic measures, for instance, therapy finished, we need to amputate the leg, he wants to give the silver plate a trial. So the plate was delivered, it was implanted, and already 6 weeks after the surgery, you saw the infection starting to go away, and also that first bone consolidation started to happen. And about 8 months after surgery, he showed uneventful healing. And of course, you have to use some skin in order to close the gap that has been provided. But as you can see on the last picture of the slide, it is absolutely no infection and it has completely healed. That young man today is walking and still has both legs. This is only one example, and it was actually very interesting for AAP to see what the technology in the future can additionally bring as a value. This is, of course, a single compassionate use case. It is on the decision based on the patient and the surgeon and the clinic to use a product that is not yet CE approved. In this case, it has dramatically supported the healing of the fracture and for the patient to keep both legs. So now, after looking at our technologies, just a brief recap on our financial numbers. I, of course, want to mention upfront that for those that maybe already received the notifications, we did publish final 2024 numbers on our website last night, but unfortunately, we did not have the time to update the presentation. So if you have any specific questions, then of course, we will go over it with you. Just to highlight the main bullet points for 2024. We're showing 12.2 million euro sales. This is 6% growth, which is in line with the average compound growth rate worldwide. Of course, as a small company, we're aiming to, of course, increase that sales growth. The EBITDA is minus 0.85 850,000, minus 850,000. And overall, when you look at the numbers published, you will see the trauma was more or less positive, slightly positive already. We have improved our gross margin. We have declined the cost level. We are on a healthy operational business. We have successfully completed the quality MDR audit, and we also have the first files MDR approved, working with a notified body on completing the remaining files for our CE portfolio by end of this year. In the silver technology, I have outlined the major milestones we completed last year and the past months, and we are of course working to finalize the next steps to a hopefully successful CE registration. On the finance side, we had to complete several financing rounds in order to strengthen our financial basis. And overall, of course, also in order to also we grew the equity base. So now we are looking also at the future outlook. What can silver bring to AAP? And we applied for the European Innovation Council. It's a grant by the Horizon program for innovative small companies with technologies. And within this application, we accumulated the figures that with and without silver. So without silver, this is what you see here on the chart. It's without LOQTEQ. The sales potential 2025 to 2035 accumulated. The next we calculated with silver, only our portfolio. And then, as I showed you, there is vast opportunities for this technology on other medical devices. And it's about the licensing business. It's about offering the technology to a broader scope within the industry, whether it's hip, dental, or cardiovascular. So this is what AAP is aiming for, to create and to shape a new technology and also to create strong growth and profitable business within the next 10 years, one implant at a time. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Agnieszka, for this very interesting presentation. I'm sure I will think about your company next time I will be on a tuk-tuk in Bangkok. But given that time is running short, I would like to have a quick look at the questions we already received. Obviously, you have published your full year results just recently, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday or today. Therefore, it's quite understandable that there are a lot of questions regarding your numbers. Maybe just let's kick off the Q&A with the first question, which says that your EBITDA loss has narrowed quite significantly. In 2023, you had minus 3.7 million. In 2024, it was almost only 850,000 K. So can you clarify whether you are on track for achieving positive operating EBITDA in 2025? And what are the key cost levers enabling that?
So if I may answer that question, welcome to the audience, Community Gerolamo, CEO of the company. It's a very good question. Our target is, because we see here AAP as a two-segment company, that the trauma business has to become profitable and co-finance the silver technology. Regarding the silver technology, you see the minus we had last year is mainly driven by the silver project. So the company itself does not yet earn the money to finance the silver project. So the EBITDA is planned positive for the trauma business, but for the silver investments, for the technology to have now the approval, the MDR approval, etc., is a way to go, and that money is not yet earned by the trauma business. So therefore, we can say yes, in segment trauma, we are on a positive level, but with the project silver, which is quite big for the company, we need money there. We invest money there, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's stick with numbers. The next question is about your cash burn. What is your current cash runway, and do you foresee the need for further financing in the next 12 to 18 months?
Also, this is a very good question. Also, we see, of course, to build up the silver registration, production, registration in the US and other countries, etc. So we have a business plan for that area, and we have calculated for the next 5 years to invest up to 10 million euros to bring that alive. Of course, EBITDA of trauma will contribute part of it, not all, part of it. Today a little bit less, in the future a little bit more, maybe everything then. So it depends a little bit how fast we can expand the sales side. Cost side we have very good under control. So we plan here on a 6-month basis. What do we need in additional cash for the silver project? As of today, we have no plans for this year to raise additional money. But of course, we will foresee, I mean, we need investments into the silver to speed up the process. And therefore, we plan to have additional capital rounds, but not yet in the near future.
There's another question which just comes in, but which might make sense to talk about now. With the human clinical study for the antibacterial silver technology now complete, what is the expected timeline for regulatory approval and initial commercial launch in Europe and in the US?
Again, a very good question. We have here a combined product, category 3. So we are in the process of registration work executing already, because when we saw last year the very good results in the study, which enabled us to close earlier the study, we started immediately with the registration work. Now, under MDR, the registration work has doubled the time that we had before under MDD. So you have to show all the data in real time, means also the shelf life, which is something that takes the most time. You have to have real 1 year shelf life or 3 year shelf life. So according to that, what you plan to sell the product, we start with, of course, with 1 year, then we have to extend to 3 years. So we calculate that we are around 27 plus minus within the year that we submit the documentation for registration. How long then the MDR notified body commission needs to approve it, we don't have under control. It's different in Europe than in the USA. FDA, you have clear timelines. So many days they have time to check. So many days they have time to give you a response. Here in Europe, it's open end. So depending on the bottleneck that they have, they are faster or not so fast. We calculate there between 6 to 18 months of the notified body in Europe.
Okay. Quite often you see in this industry that once you're approaching a market entry with your products, that there's a strategic buyer coming into the place. And there's one question asking, there's always been speculation that aap or LOQTEQ could be acquired by a major player such as Stryker. Can you provide us with an update on these rumors?
Nice rumors. Of course, the platform technology would make a lot of sense for a big player who has all these different product lines in its portfolio. I mean, you can apply the silver technology on all these products. I mean, we did a lot of tests, as you have seen on the pictures, with big companies. Yeah, these are products from big companies. We just did it as a look and try to show. And now with the study finishing, it could be the time that somebody who has interest in silver, a larger company, so could have interest in proceeding, because right now I also see this is the right point to really invest a lot of money to speed up the process and to go broad. That would be, of course, the possibility that a big company has instead of aap.
Perfect. Looking at the time, it's 11 o'clock. Thank you very much, Agnieszka and Rubinho, for this very interesting presentation. I'm sure we will have more questions later on, and we are happy to forward them to you. It was nice having you here, and for all other participants, there's the link to the next meeting, LOQTEQ, which you can now join by clicking on that link. All others, I wish a beautiful day, and see you later again. Bye-bye.